quick video on how to do the knit 1 below and purl 1 below. The abbreviation for knit 1 below is K1B, purl 1 below is P1B in abbreviation. I am currently on the knit 1 below row in my pattern. So what you'll do when you're on your knit row, you will knit not on the stitch currently on the needle. You will knit below that stitch. To see that stitch, simply pull on your yarn a little, and that hole underneath will open up and you'll see that bar. This area is what you're going to knit into. So again, if you simply pull slightly on your yarn, that hole opens up. And that's what you're going to knit into. Taking your needle and simply going into that hole, and it comes out of the back looking like that. Grab your yarn and come right back out from where you went in. And you'll see you have the current new stitch plus the original stitch on the left needle. And all you're going to do is pull that original stitch off. It will not come apart. It looks like it might, but it won't. And it helps to create a nice squishy, almost three-dimensional material. I will purl this next stitch plain. Nothing special about it, just a plain old purl stitch. Knit 1 below here. Again, pull on that yarn and you'll see that hole open up underneath. Go into that hole, knit that stitch hole, pull the original stitch off the left needle. Then you'll purl the next stitch if your pattern calls for that, which it should. Knit 1 below. Again, pull that yarn and you'll see that little hole open up. Grab the yarn, knit that stitch. Again, new stitch, original stitch off. Purl the next stitch. Again, knit 1 below, K1B. Pull that yarn down and you'll see that little hole open up. Needle in, grab yarn, pull out, take the stitch off the left needle, and it creates almost like a double stitch. Make sure I have my rows correct. Now, this is the purl 1 below, P1B row that I'm now going to start. My pattern says to knit the first stitch. Nothing special, plain old knit stitch. Knit the first stitch. Now I have a purl row. This is the purl bump, can also be called a collar. This is what you're going to purl. And if you see this hole right in here, you can see my finger. That is what you're purling, is this little gap, this little space hole. That's what you're purling through. Yarn to the front because you're going to purl that space. But you're going to come from the back, just like you would a normal purl stitch. You come from the back. You're going to do the same for this hole. Yarn forward, needle and back, push the needle through the hole, back to front. Again, there's the purl. You can see the hole right in there. Needle in back, yarn in front. Put the needle through that hole, pull your yarn down, and you're going to go right back out the way you came in. And then pull the original stitch off the needle. Knit the next stitch. Again, purl stitch is right here. And you can see that little hole right underneath. That's what you're going to purl into, is that hole under the existing purl stitch. Yarn in front, needle in the back. Push your needle through that hole, just like that, and purl that stitch. New stitch, original stitch, pull original stitch off the left needle. Knit the next stitch. Again, here's your purl stitch, and you can see that tiny little hole in there. Purling, yarn in front, needle in back. Come from behind, push forward, purl. New stitch, original stitch off. And it's helping to create a cushion, almost like a double stitch. And that is how you do the K1B, knit 1 below, P1B, purl 1 below. It's a little tricky and finicky at first, but it becomes a very fun stitch to create, kind of meditative when you're doing it, and this is the overall look. The squishy yarn will happen no matter if you're using 2 colors or 1 color. It will still create this double squish effect, and you can see the ridge that it creates on both sides.